A young woman walked into a boardroom with bruises hidden under makeup, ready to present to the most powerful executives in Manhattan. She had no idea that in the next 60 minutes, 6 men would face a reckoning. 6 men who'd spent years building empires, reputations, careers, all of it about to crumble because one person asked a simple question: "How did you injure your neck?" By the time that meeting ended, 1 man would be in handcuffs, 5 others would face a choice that would define the rest of their lives, and the woman they'd all underestimated would become the most powerful voice in corporate America. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to that morning, the morning everything changed. Welcome to the Silk and Steel Diary, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. Before we begin, let us know where you're watching from, and if you believe some people get exactly what they deserve, hit subscribe. The foundation concealer wasn't working. 28-year-old Maya Chen stared at her reflection in the women's bathroom on the 47th floor of Sterling Industries headquarters in Manhattan, dabbing more makeup over the bruises on her neck. The handprint was still visible if you looked closely. Purple-blue marks where fingers had pressed into her throat just 6 hours ago. She'd tried scarves, too obvious in August, tried a turtleneck, too suspicious for a corporate presentation, so makeup it was, layered thick enough to hide the evidence, but light enough not to look like she was wearing a mask. Her hands shook as she applied the final touches. In 30 minutes, she had to walk into the executive boardroom and present the quarterly marketing analysis to Sterling Industries' top brass. 6 executives, all men, all powerful, and one of them was the reason she could barely swallow without pain. Vice President Marcus Kendrick. 42 years old, Harvard MBA, 20 years at Sterling, married with 3 kids whose photos decorated his office, respected, admired, untouchable, and violent. Maya had been his executive assistant for 8 months. At first, it was perfect. Great pay, prestigious position, direct access to the C-suite. She'd worked her way up from temp receptionist to this role, and it felt like she'd finally made it. Then the comments started. How nice she looked, how her skirts fit, little touches on her shoulder that lasted too long. She'd brushed it off, told herself she was imagining things. 3 months ago, Marcus cornered her in the supply room, told her she was special, that he could help her career, that all she had to do was be nice to him. Maya had said no, firmly, professionally. Marcus had smiled like she'd told a joke. "You'll change your mind." She didn't. Last month, Marcus started sabotaging her work, deleting files, changing meeting times without telling her, giving her impossible deadlines. When she missed them, he'd write her up for poor performance. Maya tried going to HR. The woman behind the desk listened politely, took notes, promised to look into it. 2 days later, Marcus called Maya into his office and closed the door. "You made a complaint about me?" His voice was quiet, dangerous. "I just wanted to document. You wanted to ruin my career, my reputation, my family. That's not... Do you know what happens to assistants who make trouble?" Marcus stepped closer. "They disappear. Not physically, but professionally. One bad reference from me and you'll never work in this industry again." Maya had believed him. Marcus had connections everywhere. He golfed with CEOs. He'd gone to school with half of Wall Street. One word from him could destroy her. So she'd stayed quiet, kept her head down, tried to avoid being alone with him. This morning, that strategy had failed. Maya had arrived at 6 a.m. to prepare for today's presentation. The office was empty, or so she thought. Marcus had been waiting in the conference room. "Morning, Maya. Ready for the big presentation?" She'd tensed immediately. "Yes, sir, I have all the materials." "Good, because I need you to understand something." He'd walked toward her slowly. "Today's presentation, it makes or breaks your career here. The CEO himself will be in that room. Robert Sterling doesn't attend quarterly reviews unless something important is happening." "I know, I've prepared thoroughly." "I'm sure you have. But here's the thing." Marcus had reached out and adjusted her collar, his fingers deliberately brushing her neck. I'm the one who decides if your presentation is good enough, and right now, I'm not convinced you have what it takes." Maya stepped back. "Mr. Kendrick, you could convince me though, right now, just you and me. No one needs to know." "No." Marcus's face changed. The professional mask cracked, revealing something ugly underneath. "No," he repeated softly. "I said no. Please step back." "You think you can reject me? Again?" His voice rose. "You think you're too good for me?" "I think I want to do my job without being harassed." That's when he grabbed her, fast, violent, his hand closing around her throat, slamming her back against the wall. "You don't get to say no to me," he hissed, his face inches from hers. "You're nothing, a glorified secretary. I could replace you in an hour." Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. His grip was crushing her windpipe. "You're going to walk into that boardroom today and give a terrible presentation. You're going to humiliate yourself, and then you're going to quit. Do you understand?" She'd clawed at his hand, desperate for air. "Do you understand?" He squeezed harder. Black spots danced in her vision. She managed a tiny nod. Marcus had released her immediately. Maya collapsed, gasping, her throat on fire. "Clean yourself up," Marcus said, straightening his tie. "And remember, if you say anything about this, it's your word against mine. Who do you think they'll believe?" He walked out like nothing happened. That was 6 hours ago. Now, Maya stared at her reflection. The makeup mostly covered the bruises. If you didn't look too closely, you might miss them. She had 2 choices. She could quit, walk away, find another job somewhere far from Marcus Kendrick, or she could walk into that boardroom and fight. Maya thought about all the years she'd worked to get here, the late nights, the sacrifices, the student loans she was still paying off, the tiny apartment she could barely afford. She thought about every other woman Marcus had probably done this to, every woman he would do it to if someone didn't stop him. She took a deep breath. It hurt. Then she picked up her presentation materials and walked toward the boardroom. The executive boardroom was exactly what you'd expect in a billion-dollar company. Massive mahogany table, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows with views of Manhattan, original artwork on the walls. 6 executives were already seated. Maya recognized all of them from company newsletters and meetings. Marcus Kendrick sat at the head of the table, perfectly composed. He glanced at Maya and smirked. Next to him was David Park, Chief Financial Officer, mid-50s, notorious for brutal budget cuts. Across from David sat James Whitmore, Chief Operating Officer. Former military, ran the company like a battalion. Then there was Richard Ashford, Chief Technology Officer. Brilliant but arrogant, always challenging ideas. Beside Richard was Gregory Hughes, Chief Sales Officer. Smooth talker, huge ego, massive commission checks. And at the far end sat Thomas Burke, Chief Legal Officer. Cold, calculating, protected the company at all costs. "Miss Chen," Marcus said smoothly, "right on time. Please set up your presentation." Maya moved to the front of the room, connected her laptop to the display screen, pulled up her slides. Her hands were steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "Gentlemen, we're just waiting for—" Marcus started. The door opened. Every executive immediately stood. Robert Sterling walked in. The CEO of Sterling Industries was 63 years old, silver hair, sharp eyes, custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than Maya's car. He'd built this company from nothing 40 years ago. Forbes estimated his net worth at $8 billion. He was a legend, ruthless in business, fair with employees, known for seeing things others missed. "Gentlemen, please sit," Robert said, his voice commanding without being loud. He took the chair at the opposite end from Marcus, then his eyes swept the room and landed on Maya. For just a second his expression changed, a flicker of something, concern, recognition, before returning to neutral. "Miss Chen, I believe?" "Yes, sir. Maya Chen, executive assistant to Mr. Kendrick."
"I've heard good things about your work. Please proceed with the presentation." Maya's throat tightened. She could feel Marcus staring at her, daring her to mess up. She began. "Gentlemen, this quarter's marketing analysis reveals significant opportunities for growth across our 3 primary sectors." For the next 20 minutes, Maya presented data, charts, projections, recommendations. She knew this material inside and out. She'd spent weeks preparing, double-checking every number, every conclusion. The executives asked questions, tough ones. Maya answered each precisely, backing up her points with data. Marcus interrupted several times, trying to poke holes in her analysis. Maya calmly defended her work. "I'm not convinced these projections are realistic," Marcus said, his tone patronizing. "Ms. Chen may be overestimating." "The projections are conservative, actually, based on historical data from the past 5 years with a 15% margin of error built in. If anything, we're underestimating potential growth." David Park nodded. "The numbers look solid to me." Marcus's jaw tightened. Maya continued. She was halfway through, talking about digital marketing strategies, when she reached up to adjust her collar. The movement exposed her neck. Robert Sterling's eyes narrowed. Maya realized her mistake immediately. She lowered her hand, but it was too late. Robert was staring at her neck, at the bruises her makeup couldn't completely hide. The room went silent. "Miss Chen," Robert said quietly, "would you mind pausing the presentation for a moment?" "Of course, sir."
Robert stood, walked slowly around the table, stopped directly in front of Maya. Up close, his eyes were ice blue, sharp, missing nothing. "How did you injure your neck?" he asked. Every executive turned to look. Maya felt her heart hammering. It's nothing, sir, just clumsy this morning." "You walked into something?" "Yes." "What did you walk into?" The lie wouldn't come. Maya's mouth opened, but no words came out. Robert's eyes shifted to Marcus, then back to Maya. Something in his expression changed, hardened. "Gentlemen," Robert said, still looking at Maya, "I need the room. Everyone out except Miss Chen." The executives exchanged glances. "Sir, we're in the middle of a critical presentation," Marcus objected. "I'm aware. Everyone out, now." The tone left no room for argument. One by one, the executives filed out. Marcus was last. He paused at the door, giving Maya a look that said, "Keep your mouth shut." Then the door closed. Maya was alone with the CEO. Robert Sterling walked to the windows, hands clasped behind his back, looking out at the city. 23 years ago," he said quietly, "I had an executive assistant named Jennifer, brilliant woman, Harvard graduate, could run circles around most of my vice presidents." Maya stayed silent, unsure where this was going. "Jennifer worked for my COO at the time, man named Douglas Reeves, excellent at operations, terrible human being." Robert turned to face Maya. "Jennifer came to me one day with bruises on her wrists, said she'd fallen. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Douglas was respected, successful, married." His voice went cold. 3 months later, Jennifer jumped from her apartment balcony, 32 years old, dead. Maya's breath caught. "We found her diary afterward. Douglas had been assaulting her for a year, threatening her career if she told anyone. She'd tried to report it to HR. They buried it." Robert walked closer. "I failed Jennifer. I saw the signs and ignored them because I trusted my executive over my assistant. I've regretted that every day for 23 years." He stopped directly in front of Maya. "So I'm going to ask you one question, and I need you to tell me the truth. Did someone hurt you?" Maya's eyes filled with tears. She tried to hold them back, but they fell anyway. "Yes," she whispered. "Who?" "I can't. If I say, he'll destroy my career." "No one is going to destroy your career. Who hurt you?" Maya looked at this powerful man, this CEO who could buy and sell entire companies.
She thought about Marcus's threats, about HR ignoring her complaint, about being powerless. Then she thought about Jennifer, about jumping from a balcony because she saw no other way out. Marcus Kendrick. This morning, he choked me against a wall because I refused his advances. Robert's face went absolutely still. When he spoke, his voice was deadly calm. How long has this been happening? 8 months. It started small. Comments, touching. When I rejected him, he started sabotaging my work. This morning was the first time he got physical. Did you report this to anyone?
HR last month. They did nothing. Robert walked to the phone on the wall, pressed a button. Security, this is Sterling. I needed to seal the 47th floor. No one enters or exits without my authorization, and send someone to the boardroom. Now. He hung up and looked at Maya. Do you trust me? It was a strange question. Maya barely knew him, but something in his eyes, the same thing she'd seen when he talked about Jennifer, made her answer. Yes. Good, because what happens next is going to be difficult, but I promise you, Maya, Marcus Kendrick will never hurt anyone again. 2 security officers arrived within minutes. Robert spoke to them quietly. They nodded and left. Then Robert opened the boardroom door. The 6 executives were waiting in the hallway. Everyone back inside, Robert commanded. They filed in, confused. Marcus looked nervous now, probably sensing something was wrong. Robert waited until everyone was seated. Then he locked the door. Gentlemen, Robert said, we have a situation. Marcus straightened. Sir, if this is about Ms. Chen's presentation... It's not. It's about assault, harassment, and the systematic failure of this company to protect its employees. The room went dead silent. Robert turned to Maya. Ms. Chen, would you please tell these gentlemen what you told me? Maya's voice shook, but she forced the words out. Every detail. 8 months of harassment, HR's inaction, this morning's attack. As she spoke, she watched the executives' faces. Shock, discomfort, and from Marcus, rage barely contained. When she finished, Marcus stood up. This is absurd. I've never touched this woman. She's clearly making this up because I gave her a negative performance review. Sit down, Robert said quietly. I will not sit here and be accused. I said sit down. The command in Robert's voice was absolute. Marcus sat. Robert pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, then turned the screen to face the room. It was security footage, black and white but crystal clear. The conference room. That morning. Marcus grabbing Maya's throat, slamming her against the wall. The timestamp, 6:47 a.m. We have cameras in every conference room, Robert said calmly. For security purposes. I had security pull this morning's footage while we were talking. Marcus's face went white. The audio is even better, Robert continued. He pressed play. Marcus's voice filled the room. You're going to walk into that boardroom today and give a terrible presentation. You're going to humiliate yourself, and then you're going to quit. Robert turned off the video. Anyone else want to claim Ms. Chen is making this up? No one spoke. Robert turned to Thomas Burke, the chief legal officer. Thomas, legally, what am I allowed to do right now? Thomas cleared his throat. Given the evidence, you can terminate Mr. Kendrick immediately for cause. No severance. We should also contact the police. This is assault. And if I choose to handle this differently? Sir, I would strongly advise. I didn't ask for advice. I asked what I'm allowed to do. Thomas hesitated. You have broad discretion as CEO, but anything beyond termination could expose the company to liability. Understood. Robert turned to the other executives. Here's what's going to happen. Marcus Kendrick is fired, effective immediately. Security is already clearing his office. He will leave this building in the next 10 minutes and never return. Marcus started to protest. Robert held up a hand. I'm not finished. The police will be called.
Ms. Chen can decide whether to press charges. That's her choice, not ours. If she does, we will cooperate fully with the investigation and provide all evidence." He paused. "Additionally, I want a full review of every HR complaint filed in the past 5 years, every single one. I want to know who else was ignored, who else was silenced, who else we failed." Robert's eyes swept the remaining executives. "And I want to know which of you knew, because someone always knows. Someone sees something and says nothing. Someone hears rumors and dismisses them. Someone values reputation over safety." David Park looked uncomfortable. Gregory Hughes stared at the table. "I'm guessing at least 2 of you had heard something about Marcus," Robert continued. "Maybe you thought it was just gossip. Maybe you didn't want to get involved. Maybe you valued your relationship with him over the well-being of his assistant." Richard Ashford spoke up. "Sir, I heard rumors last year, but I didn't have proof. Did you investigate? Did you report it? Did you do anything?" "No, sir." "Then you failed too." Robert's voice was ice. "All of you in this room have a choice to make right now. You can be part of the solution or you can be part of the problem. If you're part of the problem, you can join Marcus in unemployment." The threat was clear. Robert turned back to Marcus. "Do you have anything to say?" Marcus's face was twisted with rage and humiliation. "You're destroying my life over some secretary's lies. There's video evidence. I have a family, a reputation. You can't just—" "I can, and I am. Security will escort you out. If you attempt to contact Ms. Chen, speak to the press, or interfere with the investigation in any way, I will personally ensure you never work again. Not here, not anywhere. Do you understand?" Marcus looked around the room, searching for allies. No one met his eyes. "Do you understand?" Robert repeated. "Yes," Marcus spat. "Good. Get out of my building." 2 security officers appeared at the door. They escorted Marcus out. He left without looking back. The remaining 5 executives sat in stunned silence. Robert turned to Maya. "Ms. Chen, I owe you an apology. This company failed you. I failed you. That changes now." Maya couldn't speak. Tears were streaming down her face. "You have several options. 1, you can take paid leave for as long as you need. 2, you can transfer to a different department with a promotion and raise. 3, you can leave the company with an excellent reference and a severance package that ensures you're financially stable while you find your next position." "What do you recommend?" Maya managed to ask. "Honestly, take some time to think about it. This is trauma. You need space to process. But whatever you decide, you'll have my full support." He pulled out a business card and handed it to her. "My personal cell number. You call if you need anything at all. A reference, advice, help with the police, whatever you need." Maya looked at the card, then at Robert Sterling. This man who'd taken her word over his vice president's, who'd pulled security footage to prove the truth, who'd fired Marcus without hesitation. "Thank you," she whispered.
"Don't thank me. I should have created a culture where this never happened in the first place." Robert turned to the remaining executives. "Gentlemen, you're going to help me fix this company. Starting today, we implement a new reporting system for harassment complaints. Independent third-party, direct line to me, complete anonymity for reporters if they choose. Anyone who retaliates against a reporter is immediately terminated." David Park spoke up. "Sir, that's going to be expensive." "I don't care. We're a billion-dollar company. We can afford to protect our employees. Anyone who has a problem with that can join Marcus." No one argued. Meeting adjourned. Everyone out except Ms. Chen. The executives filed out quickly, leaving Maya alone with Robert again. He pulled out a chair. "Please, sit." Maya sat. Her legs were shaking. Robert sat across from her. "I meant what I said. Take time to figure out what you want. But I also want you to know, your presentation was excellent. The best quarterly analysis I've seen in years. You have a brilliant mind, and I don't want this company to lose you." I thought about quitting. This morning, after Marcus attacked me, I almost didn't come to this presentation. Why did you? Because I was tired of being afraid, tired of powerful men getting away with hurting people, and I thought, maybe if I could just get through today, maybe I could find a way to stop him. You stopped him. You stopped him. I just told the truth. The truth is harder than you think. Most people in your position would have stayed silent. Fear of retaliation, fear of not being believed, fear of losing everything. But you spoke up anyway. That takes courage. Robert stood. "I'm going to have security escort you home. Take the rest of the week off, paid. Think about what you want. And Maya," he looked at her seriously, "if you decide to press charges against Marcus, I will testify. I will provide all evidence. I will do whatever it takes to ensure justice. What about the company's reputation, the publicity? I don't care about publicity. I care about doing the right thing. Finally." 3 days later, Maya sat in a police station giving her statement. The detective assigned to her case was a woman in her 40s named Sarah Martinez. "We have the security footage," Detective Martinez said. "Combined with your testimony and the medical photos of your injuries, we have a strong case. The DA wants to prosecute." "What charges?" Maya asked. "Assault, battery, sexual harassment in the workplace. Marcus Kendrick is looking at serious time if convicted." Maya thought about Marcus's 3 kids, his wife, his career destroyed. Then she thought about the next woman, the one Marcus would hurt if he wasn't stopped. "I want to press charges," she said firmly. "Good. We'll need you to come back for additional interviews and eventually there will be a trial. Are you prepared for that?" "Yes." Detective Martinez smiled. "You're brave. Most victims don't make it this far." "I'm not brave. I'm just tired of being scared." The trial took 8 months. 8 months of Maya reliving that morning over and over. 8 months of Marcus's expensive lawyers trying to destroy her credibility. The defense strategy was predictable but brutal. They painted Maya as a disgruntled employee with a grudge. They pointed to the negative performance reviews Marcus had given her, claiming she'd fabricated the harassment story as revenge. They brought in character witnesses, Marcus's colleagues, his wife, even his pastor, to testify about what a good man he was. Maya sat through all of it, stone-faced, while they tried to tear her apart. The defense attorney, a sharp woman in her 50s named Patricia Morse, was particularly aggressive during cross-examination. "Ms. Chen, isn't it true that you were about to be fired for poor performance?" Patricia asked. "No, Mr. Kendrick was sabotaging my work to force me out because I rejected his advances." "That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof of this sabotage?" "I have emails showing him changing deadlines without notifying me. I have deleted files that were recovered from my computer's backup. I have testimony from other assistants who witnessed him deliberately withholding information from me." Patricia's smile was cold. "Or perhaps you were simply incompetent at your job and are now blaming Mr. Kendrick for your failures." Maya's lawyer objected. The judge sustained it. But the damage was done. The jury had heard the implication. The trial dragged on, week after week of testimony, medical experts explaining Maya's injuries, technology experts authenticating the security footage, HR representatives admitting they'd buried Maya's original complaint. Then came the other women. 4 former assistants of Marcus Kendrick, spanning 12 years. Each one told a similar story: harassment, intimidation, threats to their careers. 2 of them had quit rather than continue working for him. 1 had been forced out. 1 had accepted a payout and signed a non-disclosure agreement that Robert Sterling personally voided so she could testify. Their testimonies were devastating. One woman, Sarah Blackwell, broke down on the stand.
"He told me no one would believe me," she sobbed. "He said I was just a secretary and he was a vice president. He said if I reported him, he'd make sure I never worked again. And I believed him, so I stayed quiet for 3 years until I couldn't take it anymore and quit." "Did you report his behavior to anyone?" the prosecutor asked gently. "I tried. HR told me I was being overly sensitive, that I should learn to handle office dynamics better, that maybe I was misinterpreting friendly behavior." "What happened after you quit?" "I had to move to a different city to find work. Marcus had connections everywhere in New York. Every time I got close to a job, the offer would mysteriously fall through. It took me 2 years to rebuild my career." The jury was riveted. Marcus's lawyers tried to discredit each woman, but their stories were too consistent, too detailed, too painful to be fabrications. The security footage was the final nail in the coffin. When the prosecutor played it in court, several jury members visibly recoiled. Watching Marcus's hand close around Maya's throat, seeing her struggle, hearing his threats, it was undeniable. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, the foreman was a middle-aged man who looked Marcus directly in the eye as he read the verdict. On the count of assault in the 2nd degree, guilty. On the count of criminal battery, guilty. On the count of aggravated harassment in the workplace, guilty. Each guilty verdict landed like a hammer blow. Marcus's face went from confident to shocked to devastated in seconds. His wife, sitting in the gallery, started crying. His 3 children weren't present. They'd been kept away from the trial. The sentencing hearing was 2 weeks later. Maya had the option to give a victim impact statement. Her lawyer advised against it. "You've been through enough," he said. "You don't have to put yourself through this again." But Maya insisted. On sentencing day, she walked to the front of the courtroom and faced Marcus Kendrick for the first time since the trial began. "Your Honor," Maya began, her voice steady. "8 months ago, Marcus Kendrick attacked me in a conference room. He choked me because I refused his sexual advances. He threatened my career, my livelihood, my future. He thought he was untouchable because he was powerful and I was nobody." She paused. "But I wasn't nobody. I was a person, a human being with dignity and worth. And when he put his hands on me, he didn't just hurt me physically. He tried to destroy my sense of self, my confidence, my belief that I deserved to be treated with respect." Marcus stared at the table, refusing to meet her eyes. "I want this court to understand something," Maya continued. "This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern of behavior spanning more than a decade. 4 other women have come forward. How many more stayed silent? How many more careers did he destroy? How many more women are living with trauma because Marcus Kendrick believed he was above consequences?" Her voice grew stronger. "I'm here today not just for myself, but for every woman he hurt, every woman he threatened, every woman who was too afraid to speak up. And I'm asking this court to send a clear message. No one is above the law, not even powerful executives, not even men with connections and money and prestigious degrees." She looked directly at Marcus. "You tried to silence me. You failed. And I hope that every day you spend in prison, you think about all the women whose lives you damaged. I hope you feel a fraction of the fear and powerlessness you inflicted on us." Maya stepped down. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, looked at Marcus. "Mr. Kendrick, this court has heard extensive evidence of your predatory behavior. You used your position of power to harass, intimidate, and assault multiple women over more than a decade. You showed no remorse. You attempted to use your wealth and connections to escape justice. This court finds your actions reprehensible." She paused. "You are sentenced to 4 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of probation. You are ordered to pay restitution totaling $380,000 to your victims, divided according to their individual damages. You are permanently banned from holding any supervisory position in any company, and your name will be entered into a registry of workplace offenders, which will be accessible to any future employer conducting background checks."
Marcus's lawyer immediately stood to appeal, but the damage was done. Marcus Kendrick was led away in handcuffs. His wife divorced him 3 months later, citing irreparable harm to their marriage. His colleagues distanced themselves. No one wanted to be associated with him. His name became synonymous with workplace harassment. Harvard Business School removed him from their alumni spotlight. His country club revoked his membership. Everything he'd built, destroyed. And Maya felt nothing but relief. Meanwhile, Maya had made her decision about Sterling Industries. She stayed.
Robert Sterling had personally created a new position for her, Director of Workplace Safety and Ethics. Her job was to ensure that what happened to her never happened to anyone else. The first day in her new role, Maya sat in an office 3 times the size of her old cubicle. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a real desk, a team of 5 people reporting to her. It felt surreal. Her first task was to completely overhaul the HR complaint system. The old system had failed her and countless others. The new one needed to be bulletproof. Maya spent 6 months researching best practices. She visited companies known for excellent workplace cultures. She consulted with psychologists, lawyers, victim advocates, and HR experts. Then she built something revolutionary. The new system had 3 key components. First, a completely independent reporting channel. Complaints didn't go to HR or to managers. They went to an external third-party firm that specialized in workplace investigations. No one at Sterling Industries could bury a complaint or pressure someone to withdraw it. Second, absolute anonymity for reporters if they chose it. The system used encrypted technology that even the investigation firm couldn't trace back to specific individuals unless the reporter voluntarily identified themselves. Third, zero tolerance for retaliation. Anyone caught retaliating against a reporter, even if the complaint was ultimately unfounded, would be immediately terminated. No exceptions, no second chances. "This is going to be expensive," the CFO told Maya in a budget meeting. "How much did the Marcus Kendrick situation cost us?" Maya countered. "Legal fees, settlement payments, reputation damage, the hours executives spent dealing with the fallout, not to mention what it cost in employee morale and trust." She pulled up a spreadsheet. "By my calculations, the Marcus situation cost Sterling Industries approximately $4.7 million. My proposed system costs $800,000 annually. That's a savings of $3.9 million per incident prevented, and that's assuming we only prevent 1 incident per year, which is a very conservative estimate." The CFO studied the numbers, then nodded. "Approved." Maya implemented the system company-wide. She trained every single employee, from janitors to executives, on how to use it. She made it clear that everyone, regardless of position, would be held to the same standards. In the first month, they received 17 complaints, 17 situations that had been festering in silence. Maya's team investigated each one thoroughly. Of the 17, 12 were substantiated. 12 employees had been experiencing harassment, discrimination, or hostile work environments. All 12 perpetrators were disciplined. 3 were fired, 9 received formal warnings and mandatory training. Word spread quickly. Sterling Industries was serious about workplace safety. In her first year, Maya uncovered 3 more cases of harassment at the executive level. All 3 executives were immediately terminated, just as Marcus had been. One of them was Gregory Hughes, the former chief sales officer who'd been in the boardroom that day. An investigation revealed he'd been having an inappropriate relationship with a junior sales associate, a relationship that the associate later admitted started because Hughes had implied her job depended on it. Hughes was escorted out the same day. "No one is protected," Robert Sterling announced at an all-company meeting. "I don't care if you bring in $100 million in sales. I don't care if you've been here for 20 years. If you abuse your power, you're out. This is not negotiable." The message was clear. The culture was changing. But changing culture meant more than just firing bad actors. It meant rebuilding trust. Maya created mentorship programs that paired junior employees with senior leaders, with strict guidelines about appropriate behavior and mandatory training for all mentors. She implemented regular anonymous surveys to measure employee satisfaction and safety. If any department showed concerning trends, her team would investigate immediately. She started a speaker series where survivors of workplace harassment could share their stories. Some employees came forward who'd been harassed years ago and never reported it. Maya helped connect them with resources, even though the incidents were past the statute of limitations. She worked with the legal department to void all existing non-disclosure agreements related to harassment claims. "We're not hiding our mistakes anymore," she told Thomas Burke, the chief legal officer. "We're learning from them." Slowly, Sterling Industries transformed. Employee retention increased by 23% in Maya's first year. Job applications tripled. People wanted to work for a company that protected its employees. Client relationships strengthened because Sterling's reputation improved. Forbes ran a story, How Sterling Industries Transformed Workplace Culture After Scandal. The article detailed everything, from Marcus's crimes to Maya's reforms to Robert Sterling's commitment to change. Robert was quoted extensively. "We failed our employees. We created a culture where powerful people could abuse their positions without consequences. We're spending every day trying to earn back their trust, and we're not stopping until every single person at Sterling Industries feels safe coming to work." Maya was interviewed too. She didn't mention Marcus by name, the trial had gotten enough publicity, but she talked about the importance of believing victims, of creating systems that protect the vulnerable, of holding powerful people accountable. "The old system was designed to protect the company's reputation," Maya told the Forbes reporter. "The new system is designed to protect the company's people. That's a fundamental shift in priorities." The article went viral. Within a week, Maya had received over 200 emails from HR professionals, executives, and employees at other companies asking for advice. She started consulting on the side, helping organizations build better protections for their employees. She worked with law firms, tech companies, hospitals, universities. Anywhere people worked together, there was potential for abuse of power. Each consultation began the same way. Maya would ask, "Tell me about your worst workplace harassment case, the one that haunts you." Every organization had one. The employee who was driven to quit, the complaint that was mishandled, the perpetrator who got away with it. "Now tell me," Maya would continue, "what systems do you have in place to prevent that from happening again?" Usually the answer was, not enough. Maya would spend weeks analyzing their processes, interviewing employees, reviewing past complaints, and identifying vulnerabilities. Then she'd design custom solutions, reporting systems, investigation protocols, training programs, and accountability measures. Some organizations implemented everything she recommended, others cherry-picked a few changes and called it progress. Maya learned to identify which organizations were serious about change and which just wanted good PR. She only worked with the serious ones. 2 years after that terrible morning in the conference room, Maya stood at a podium in front of 500 HR professionals at a national conference. "Workplace harassment thrives in silence," she told them. "It thrives when victims are afraid to speak up, when complaints are buried, when powerful people are protected over vulnerable ones." She paused. "I was choked by my boss in a conference room. I had bruises on my neck. I was terrified to report it because I thought no one would believe me. But one person did believe me, and that changed everything." After her speech, a young woman approached her, mid-20s, nervous, familiar, haunted look in her eyes. "Miss Chen, I just wanted to say, your story gave me courage. My manager has been harassing me for 6 months. I've been too scared to report it, but after hearing you speak, I think I can." Maya took her hand. "You can, and you should. Do you have evidence?" "Emails, text messages, witnesses who've seen him corner me." "Good. Document everything. Report it to HR and to someone higher up than your manager. If they don't act, go higher. Keep going until someone listens." "What if no one listens?"
Then you go to the press, you go to the labor board, you go to a lawyer. You keep fighting until someone hears you. The young woman's eyes filled with tears. I'm scared. I know, I was scared too, but you know what's scarier? Living in fear for the rest of your career, letting him get away with it, knowing he'll do it to someone else. What if it ruins my career? Maya smiled. Speaking up might save your career. Staying silent will definitely ruin it. The young woman hugged her. Thank you. 5 years after Marcus Kendrick went to prison, Maya Chen stood in her office at Sterling Industries, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. She was now Senior Vice President of Corporate Culture, the youngest SVP in company history. She'd built an entire division focused on employee well-being, safety, and ethics. Under her leadership, Sterling Industries had become known as one of the best places to work in America. Low harassment rates, high employee satisfaction, a model for other companies. Robert Sterling knocked on her open door. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Always for you, sir." Robert walked in and sat down. He looked older now, grayer, but his eyes were still sharp. "I'm retiring next year," he said. Maya was shocked. "Sir?" "I'm 68. It's time. The board is already discussing succession." "Who are they considering?" "Several candidates, but I wanted to talk to you first." He paused. "Have you ever thought about being CEO?" Maya laughed. "Of Sterling Industries? No, I'm not qualified." "You're more qualified than you think. You've transformed this company. Employees trust you. The board respects you. You understand both the business side and the human side." "I'm 33 years old. I was 35 when I started this company. Age doesn't matter. Vision does, and you have vision." Maya looked out the window, processing this. "I'm not saying you should do it," Robert continued, "but I am saying you could, if you wanted to. The board would listen to my recommendation." "What about the other executives? They have more experience." "They also ignored your harassment complaint. They valued their relationships with Marcus over your safety. I haven't forgotten that." Robert stood. "Think about it. You have time. But Maya, you've already proven you can lead. You took a broken culture and fixed it. That's harder than running a profitable company." After he left, Maya sat alone in her office, thinking. 5 years ago, she'd been an executive assistant, afraid to speak up, choking on her own silence. Now she was being considered for CEO of a billion-dollar company. The irony wasn't lost on her. She thought about Marcus Kendrick, sitting in a prison cell, his career destroyed, his reputation ruined. She didn't feel guilty, she felt free, because the truth was, Marcus had destroyed himself. She'd just refused to be destroyed with him. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through her messages. Dozens from young women who'd read her story, who'd found courage to report their own harassment, who'd refused to stay silent. One message stood out, from just this morning. "Miss Chen, because of your story, I reported my abusive boss. He was fired yesterday. Thank you for showing me that speaking up matters. You saved my life." Maya smiled. She didn't know if she'd become CEO, didn't know what the future held, but she knew this. She'd found her voice, and she was using it to help others find theirs. That was more powerful than any corner office.
6 executives had been in that boardroom 5 years ago. Marcus Kendrick, in prison, career destroyed. David Park, Richard Ashford, Gregory Hughes, all eventually left Sterling Industries, unable to shake their reputation for ignoring harassment. Thomas Burke retired early, reputation damaged. James Whitmore, still at Sterling, now a vocal advocate for workplace safety, trying to make amends for his past silence. And then there was Maya Chen, the woman they'd underestimated, the assistant they'd overlooked, the victim who became a voice for thousands. She'd survived, she'd thrived, she'd transformed an entire company culture, And she'd done it not by staying silent, but by speaking up. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is tell the truth, even when you're terrified. Sometimes justice doesn't look like a courtroom or a prison sentence. Sometimes justice looks like a young woman standing in front of a CEO, bruises on her neck, saying 3 simple words: "He hurt me." And sometimes, if you're lucky, justice looks like someone believing you. This is for everyone who's ever been afraid to speak up, for everyone who's been told their voice doesn't matter, for everyone who's been hurt by someone powerful and thought there was no way out. Your voice matters, your truth matters, and sometimes, just sometimes, the right person will listen. Hit subscribe if you believe some people get exactly what they deserve. And let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Because Maya Chen's story isn't just her story, it's the story of every person who found the courage to speak when silence seemed safer. And that courage changes everything.